Hey there, so I'm just here this afternoon in my kitchen and wanted to share with you one of my favorite breakfast recipes that's in your cleanse guide, the chai no oatmeal breakfast. So I've already cooked my squash, so I'm not going to take you through that. You want to cut a squash in half, bake it 350 for about a half an hour, 25 minutes, or until it's soft, because you want it nice and soft. Acorn squash is what the recipe calls for, but you can also use kabocha squash, which looks a little bit like buttercup, but I prefer it to buttercup, so you'll have to ask, because some farmers do grow it, but it's not as common as buttercup, and there are different colors. Kabocha can be that dark green like buttercup or orange. I don't have one to show you right now. Butternut is also good to use as well. So any of those sweet squashes are great. So I'm just going to take you through what I do. So like I said, I've already got my half of an acorn squash cooked. And I'm just going to scrape this out. I cooked this actually last week, and I'd already used the first half for my cereal. So this is a nice thing. So if I don't have time in the morning to blend the whole squash, I'll just do a half batch. And I will just have the ingredients accordingly when I do that. So I have a Vitamix, but my container for my Vitamix is really big, so that when I am blending small amounts of stuff like this, I prefer my Magic Bullet. I also blend up my organic full-fat coconut milk in my a little Magic Bullet blender. I mean, a little Magic Bullet container, which I have right over here, where I store it then after that, which makes it really convenient, because the full-fat coconut milk is almost always separated, the liquid and the fat. And a little tip on that, on the coconut milk, the full-fat coconut milk, because of that separation, I find it much easier to open it from the bottom, because then you're getting into the actual, the solidified, the saturated fat, and I get that off. No, sorry, the other way around. The liquid's on the bottom, and then I pour the liquid off instead of trying to push down through the solid part and then get to the liquid. So I pour the liquid off, and then I just use a knife, a regular knife, a kitchen knife, to get the fat out. And it's a much easier way to deal with that separation. All right, so I've almost got all of my acorn squash. I want it all. It's not a lot of effort, but it's just nice to get it all. Because it doesn't make, I get about, this will give me about 2 servings of the cereal. And there's a little piece of skin in there, but that won't matter. It'll blend right up. All right, so let me just rinse my hands. And then from here, I'm going to blend, here's my coconut milk I was mentioning. I'm going to put, it calls for about a half a can with the full recipe, so I'm going to eyeball. And I actually like to use a little bit less, because it can get a little bit too rich for me. So what I'll do is do a little less coconut milk and then cut it with some water. And you can figure out the consistency as you go and what you like. Let me just grab my blade here. So I'm going to go ahead and blend up the liquid and the squash. Give it a little tap down. I might need a little more liquid. No, I think that's looking pretty good, actually. I mean, it's nice to have it be a thick cereal, because it's like a hot cereal. Normally, oatmeal or other things like that are a thick cereal. So you can figure out what the consistency is that you like. And I'm not going to go ahead and cook it, because I'm not eating this right now. But I will tell you that, I have my desiccated organic shredded coconut that I like to add to it. I will add, because it is called chai, so there are chai spices in there. So I have cinnamon. The recipe doesn't call for ginger, but ginger is wonderful. It's a wonderful aid for the digestion. So those two, and then I love, here it is, my cardamom. And the other thing that I haven't added to this particular recipe, but I've added it to smoothies when I do pumpkin puree in my smoothies, which I'm going to start doing soon now that we're into fall. I love it. Is a pumpkin pie spice, which has those, really all of the spices that this calls for: cinnamon, ginger, cloves, and nutmeg, with the addition of ginger that I've just added. So that's a nice thing to have on hand for this dish and for doing smoothies. Wonderful blend. And then I also like to add some sesame tahini, which is great for on the cleanse because it's a seed butter. So you can add a teaspoon to a tablespoon of tahini after you're heated it up. And then you can do the apple that it calls for in the recipe. You can do any berries, be wonderful. And yeah, just heat it up in a pot over your stove and enjoy for a wonderful fall breakfast on your cleanse. So talk to you soon.